Mamma mia! Mamma mia!
Nope. Nope.
Mamma mia!
This is Jason from Retro Gaming Asylum. Welcome to Game Masters.
Welcome to the frozen north. That is, well, I guess it's the east coast of Ohio. Well, I'm not really, I don't know if they consider Ohio. Do they consider Ohio east coast, or do they call it the Midwest? Is it Midwest?
I don't even know.
I don't know. You're in the frozen tundra. I'm in the frozen tundra. Either way, we're sitting under what, 16, 18 inches of snow outside. Cold. It's exactly, I'll tell you right now, it's not as cold as it was last night. Last night it got down to negative 18 overnight with the wind chill. We're going to be down to -1 as the low tonight.
Jeez.
It's cold. And do you ever see me sitting here with a hoodie on ever doing a show?
Well, you are a little old, so
Here we
you
go.
have to bundle up for those brittle bones of yours.
Listen, I don't normally set the temperature in the house to 70 degrees or 71, but they were a little bit on the. But I'll have to say it's even a little chilly in here when it's negative outside. That I put on the old sweatshirt. I never do. I always wear t-shirts and things like that. So, anyways, we survived Snowmageddon for 2026.
We did. The game room is good. Okay, everything's good. There's not snow in the game room. We are happy. This room, however, is super hot. I think like the vents and everything are I don't know what's going on, but it is hot in here.
I wonder why. It's going to be a little warm here because I'm under lights too. I didn't even give that a thought actually when I when I started. I was like, oh, it's nice. Lindsay in the chat room, she says perfect gaming weather. Yes, we've got an interesting topic for you tonight. Not only do we have an interesting topic, but we had a few folks send a video in.
We did
about the question that we had asked. What do you consider retro? And that's going to be the main topic tonight. What do you consider retro? Some of the folks last week were talking about that. Brandy, we kind of got into it a little bit. What do you consider retro, Brandy?
I know, right? I don't know. Like here's my thing. I know what the correct answers are or whatever. What is it? 20, 25 years back?
That's that's what they consider classic even in cars. Is like anything over 20 years is considered a classic car. So
but like
that's the same thing with retro.
My problem is, when is retro like too encompassing? Like when is retro too much? Do they have something where it's like retro and then like ancient? Like, is there something like an extra step? Are there different notches? Because you could look back at like certain systems that you really don't even consider retro.
All right. So let's look at the actual definition. The actual definition of retro. Okay, we're going to get technical here. The actual definition of retro I'm looking up. It's retro style refers to new contemporary products, clothing, furniture, technology designed to imitate the aesthetics, the trends, the fashions of past era, which we all know. I just want to give the premise here. All right. Typically, this is what's considered retro. Typically from the 1950s through the 1990s. That's what's considered retro. Unlike vintage, I think that's what you were alluding to, right?
Vintage. That's
vintage.
Vintage.
Which are authentic and original pieces from the previous era. So, when I was researching this and was listening to people that sent this in, maybe we shouldn't be calling our stuff retro, our collections, because we have original stuff. Maybe we should be calling it vintage game collections. Based on definition, right? Based on definition.
See, but like, how can you sound any less cool? We already are in this time where everything's going to the digital age, and we are just these Stone Age old farts over here. Well, now you're going to start throwing in the words vintage.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. This goes on to say, vintage items are the authentic original pieces from a previous era. Retro items, however, are modern reproductions that evoke nostalgia. So, do we have vintage retro when you think about the game collections? I don't know the answer. I'm throwing it out to everybody there because listen, we're basing it off of actual definition. I'm not making this up. So it's a tough one, isn't it? Like we've always just called it retro, but is it truly the definition of what our collections are, or are they vintage?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point, but I think what some people are going to mention in some of these clips here, I think some of it is hard for people to start thinking of these consoles as retro.
Somebody's saying I'm retro.
Well, We know you're ancient,
Yeah,
but geez.
ancient, geez. With comic books, they have the ages like the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, etc. Gaming will need to start something similar. I kind of like that, Ted.
Yeah. I
What's
think so.
the
I think
laws?
they're going to have to start grouping it because you can't just say retro and then someone starts talking about Atari and then someone starts talking about the Wii
Right. So
or
Ted
something.
said earlier,
you know.
he said retro for me is the games I played up until I stopped for 2 decades. So like Pong through GameCube. Also, these are the ones easy to emulate as well. Coincidence? I don't think so. And then John also said before we went live, he
Mhm.
said it's seemingly subjective with many calling the PS3 retro for years. Now for me, I'd say PS2 and back maybe. That's a good thought. What do you Brandy? What do you consider retro? Do you consider a PS3 retro?
Well, so PlayStation 3 release date.
No. Don't go by release date. I'm asking you straight up. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Do you consider PlayStation 3 retro?
It's 20 years. Well, it's about to be 20 years old this year, right? November 11th, 2006. I feel like we're right there at that cusp.
I guess the reason I'm asking you it that way, what do you use as the measuring stick to define retro?
Well, I like to base it around like the 20-ish year mark as well, but someone made a good point at one point in one of my videos, and they were like, well, technically it could be a couple consoles back. So like we're on the PS5, and then there's PS4.
Yeah, in essence,
Then
we could say that's
PS3, the store closed. When the stores close
right.
and the system shuts down, then that could be considered retro. Some people argued that point. So I guess it technically could be, right?
To some people, PS4 is now considered retro. Yes.
That's crazy.
I don't consider that. And I'll explain why later.
PS4 is.
No, but
Yeah.
there are people out there. Anything from a console, because you think about it, the console cycle is what? Every 8 years, or now it's changed because of COVID. The PS5, the Switch 2, the Xbox, it looks like they're going to get like a 10-year life cycle from what I'm seeing. Okay. So, I guess this is not my view. This is not my opinion. This is just something I observed, we'll say. Can you go to a modern game store, like a Walmart, a Target, Brandy, or any other game store that's of the modern era? Now, I'm not talking mom and pop game shops. I'm talking modern era gaming. Can you buy a PS4 title? Yeah, you can buy one at Walmart. They sell PS4s at Walmart. They
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you buy an Xbox 360 game at a Walmart, a Target today?
No.
So that's where I would consider, if you cannot buy it new in the store,
Okay.
then I would consider that retro. Now, that's not me saying that. Some people have said that online. I've read some articles, again, leading up to the show.
I've heard people say that too. Like, if it's not readily available, then, in that sense, I kind of get that point too.
Okay. Now, I've also, and I'm not saying that's my point of view, I'm just throwing it out there. Now, another point of view that I've seen was this. Some people, and I'm not going to spoil some of the folks that wrote one in, some people, or did a video in, some people say anything past the, before the CD era is what's considered retro. Anything after that's modern. Anything with a CD in it, whether it's Panasonic 3DO, PS1, I'm trying to think, help me out here, GameCube, Xboxes, those are all modern consoles. So a lot of people are saying that anything with cartridge and floppy disk era games, those are considered retro. Do you agree with that?
No, because like PS1 is so like old.
It is.
And PS2, I consider all those retro. So look, we even have people saying that 15 years back they think is retro.
Listen, I'm throwing it out there because I want to have this discussion. So, and Daryl's bringing up a really good point. He says, they put cartridges in the Game Boy Advance, and even the Switch. So would we consider the Switch retro? No, the Switch isn't retro because it uses cartridges. So that's
that defeats that whole thing.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Daryl beat me to the punch, but that's what debunks that.
They flip flop. They don't know what they're doing half the time.
That's what debunks. Now, to be fair, Daryl, to be fair, it sort of debunks it, but it doesn't debunk it because Nintendo has gone away from putting the whole game on the cartridge. It's like a key that's now on there. So that's where the argument came in this article that I was reading. They're like, well, Switch 1 is now old, and if they've had that. My son, that was his first console when he was 2 years old, 3 years old. He got it, and now he's 13. So to him, Switch 1 is still anything Switch is still new to him, right? So anything with a cartridge, look at Evercade. Evercade's got a cartridge, right? That's not. I mean, it plays what we consider retro games, but it's still a cartridge-based system, right?
Yeah, because also like the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah.
And other things, like it's not just one-sided. And then if you're talking about certain things, I mean, the way Xbox is going, there aren't really as many disc-based games. So eventually, when it's all digital, is it even going to be retro?
I don't know.
In an all digital world, are they going to like look back at like when the dates were?
So I'm curious.
Yeah.
To continue this conversation here with the fine folks that have showed up tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What do you consider retro? Do you guys in the chat room, do you consider retro based off of years like Brandy and I were talking about? Anything over 20? Anything over 15? What do you consider retro? Or would a better term, like Brandy and I were talking about just a little bit ago, would a better term for that be called vintage? Maybe we consider, Brandy, anything that's cartridge based from the late 70s, early 80s, like through the 80s and the 90s. That's vintage, like vintage Nintendo, vintage Sega.
Yeah.
Okay, vintage TurboGrafx. But we get into retro when we start getting into the disc-based stuff, when we start getting into like Sega CD, we start getting into the 32X, we start getting into Panasonic 3DO and Dreamcast. What do you guys think of that? Is that how it should be done?
Yeah, I think we're going to have to start doing like categories because as the years go on, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 6, PlayStation 7, like I think obviously there are some different things that they like group things into, but I think it's going to have to be like an easier way to group this stuff into for like the average common people, not just
I go on Steam and I download what I consider retro 8-bit games from independent developers that are modern titles because they were just created, but they have the retro feel. To me, they're retro. They're designed like retro. They're 8-bit games, right? So would you consider that era being retro? If somebody Brandy, if you were a game developer right now,
yeah,
and you made a retro style game like let's think of like the Angry Video Game Nerd. That's a perfect one. Okay, that game. Whether you like the show, whether you like the guy, whatever. They made an 8-bit version of that game, but it was modern. Okay? It's still a retro game because it looks 8-bit.
Yeah, like a retro-inspired game. I think they call them retro-inspired.
Okay, is that what you call it? Retro-inspired?
Well, that's what I call them because I do those reviews all the time.
Okay.
Where I'm like, I'm like 10 retro inspired games. They're
Okay.
on new consoles, new modern day consoles, like the Nintendo Switch or the PS5. I even did them for like the PS4, and I did retro inspired games, and they're new. Like developers are creating these like new games, but they're based on the retro feel.
So Tim here in the chat room, he says, okay, I think it all depends on you. I think of the Atari as vintage. My son thinks the N64 is vintage.
Oh my god, break my heart.
So
N64 vintage.
and then you have a few here like Skull Bacon Media. He says, to me, it's a no-brainer. As I'm in my 40s, as am I. Atari 2600 through the August 16th. I'm sorry, he's doing 8/16 32-bit. So I wasn't sure what he was doing. I thought maybe it was a date.
8/16
32-bit era is what I would call retro. So that's kind of
yeah.
Or does that fall under vintage though?
Because there's people who are making the modern day stuff.
What about Stadia? Where does that rank?
Oh, here we go. We're going off on all.
Hey, listen, I'm just reading comments here. The block age, first and second gen, and I think you guys will be really interested in OWAS. OWAS sent in a video,
yeah,
and I think OWAS nailed it. I'm not going to give it away, but I think he nailed it. With his view of what retro is, and we'll get to that a little later. But stay tuned for that. The block age, and you can't go by block age either because Minecraft and you have Minecraft and you have what's the other one the kids are playing? Roblox. Everybody, and that's that block age.
All these different things. See, it's hard when you start getting those retro inspired games and stuff involved because then you can't group them into a time era when they're I think there's gonna have to be something.
So Skake and Bacon Media says, well, what is retro can also be vintage. No, I agree with that statement, but I think there's two different eras. You have the vintage era, and I man, more and more I think of that because of that definition, vintage being,
yeah, I think so.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's vintage retro. Brandy, just admit it. You're getting up there in age, says Daryl.
Hey. Rude.
Minecraft looks so different than from first, second gen. No, you're right. It was. No, you're definitely right. And it's a lot faster. Same with Roblox. It's a lot faster than what that was. But I'm just throwing that out there. Volgar the Viking is a good example as retro inspired, but not a retro game. There you go. So those types of games, like I buy on Steam all the time, where something that's not super GPU intensive on my gaming PC, but it looks retro to me. What I would deem retro. So I play those games a lot. I don't play like Assassin's Creed. I don't download those types of games. Now my kid will, but his graphics card's a lot better in his PC than mine is. He's got like a 16 gig graphics. I only got 8, but mine does everything I need it to do for right now. What it is, we've got Neo Ness in the house. What's going on? We've got Destination Switch, my brother from another mother in the house. Who else we got here?
We got some people joining on in. We got the Germ. We got Skake and Bacon Media.
And he says, actually, but then again, whenever I see this topic comes up, it comes to life experience and what you grew up with. Listen, I'm not saying we're right. I'm not saying you guys are right. I was just curious about what people consider retro and what people consider vintage, or as the definition says. Yeah.
Do you have people who come in your comments? Because I sure do, and they like to tell me that I'm wrong all the time.
Well, I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer for this, Brandy. I don't know if anybody's right. I don't know if anybody can say they're right, and I don't think anybody can say that they're wrong. I guess I'm just curious as to what people think. Like, okay, when I show people a picture of this backdrop, okay, let's just, like, even from work, okay, this is what they say. Oh, you have a lot of retro games. They don't even follow what we do.
Yeah, they know.
That's what they call it. They don't call it vintage. Even though I like the word vintage, I like saying like this TV, as we're gonna hear later on. One of our guys, David B, wrote in. He made a video and he says the boob tube. Okay, that's what they called these because there's tubes in them. That's vintage, right? So it also dates him. He's the same age. I knew exactly what he's talking about when he said that. It's interesting to hear other points of view. What my kid calls it, my kid calls these games things that need to be put in a museum. So he calls them relics.
Well, that's nice because people just say I have junk.
Well, he says that they are relics. So now my kid is also 13 years old, right?
But he also like appreciates the stuff, and
He
knows,
does.
He knows the meaning and the value, and and he's also going to be a little nice. I feel like.
But I just thought it was funny that how he classifies it as relics. We look at it as more like relics to me. I think of Indiana Jones, don't you? You think of like Indiana Jones finding buried treasure in the pyramids in the desert.
Don't get me wrong. That's how I feel when I find it's a desert.
Yeah.
And I find the one game and it's in a box for $1. I will act like some Indiana Jones type of stuff, okay?
But
I find it.
But think about it. When you go to when you go to there's different. Hang on a second. I'm gonna find the exact word that was used. My sister-in-law Emily. She sent this. I was pulling up the text. You guys can't see it there, but on the screen, but you can see the building that's there. She sent this up. She's like, I drove by this place. It's down off of Belmont Avenue, like past Walmart. Looks like it would be a place that you guys would enjoy. It's called Sweet Memories, Vintage Teas and Candy and Video Games.
That sounds good to me. Vintage.
So,
but they do have vintage teas. Like that's the.
But it's at an antique mall. So different friends and family that we have. Okay, I wanted to pull that up. Collecting antique things with the cartridges is considered antique, not retro, not vintage. It's antique. Do we agree with that?
When I think of antique and I think of video games, I think of Atari 2600. Or like this.
Why does the Atari mean antique to you? Elaborate on that.
Because it's old.
Is it just because it's old? Because you could say the same thing about the NES because you didn't grow up in the NES era.
Well, I did play it first, and I played it with my cousins, and I'm not ready to age myself to that extent. And
I'm not saying that to be age, but I'm saying that's antique-y.
No, I still think of when I think of antique, I think of Atari, ColecoVision, and television. I think of that time before.
I'm not disagreeing.
Before the NES. I think of everything prior to the NES.
Rick says here, AI says, rule of thumb, most creators use 20 to 25 year old retro adjacent 25 plus year old retro. By the logic, anything released before 2000, the year 2000, is safely retro in 2026. The robot overlords have spoken.
Okay. So there, it's settled.
That's a consensus. Well, that doesn't mean it's right. That's just a consensus. Owaz says, maybe break the cart thing down the size. Those big carts, not the little ones. Okay, well, Ness is in here. Ness, would you consider the Neo Geo retro or vintage? Or would you consider it a little bit past what we all consider retro because it has carts? Me personally, I look at Neo Geo as more of a modern. That was that transition period with the Neo Geo. The Neo Geo was the last of the carts that was there. This is my opinion. The last of the carts that made the transition of great games on cartridges that transitioned to the gaming that we have now on the PS1 and so forth and so on. That was the last of. I don't want to say I don't know if the Neo Geo cartridges are 64-bit, because I don't have a cartridge based one, but based on the Neo Geo CD, those games blow. Sorry, Brandy. They blow N64 games away. They blow them out of the water.
Yeah.
So, what are your guys' thoughts on that one? Just to throw a monkey wrench in it.
Man, these comments. Atari is antique, 50 years old. I mean, okay, when you think of 20 years ago, do you think of the 80s? Anyone else?
I do. I think of the 80s, but it's
Did your mind go to the 80s and then you go, wait a minute, we're old, and then you have to go back to the 2000s?
Okay, so let's look at that for a second.
Because I think that's gonna tell you how you feel about this question. If you think of 20 years ago as the 80s, then this whole retro thing.
No, because the 80s are like the oldies for the kids today. 80s are the oldies. Like when we were growing up, remember with the Beach Boys and Elvis and all that?
Yeah.
That was our parents' 80s music, if you will. They listened to like the Rolling Stones and all that. Those are oldies now. All those guys. The Rolling.
I love the TikToks when it's like what I hear, and it's like to the window, to the wall.
Yeah, that's retro.
It's like this is what my kid hears. To the window, to the wall. And it's like this like oldie song.
Yeah.
It's like I love those TikToks where it does that because we heard this like club music. Our kids hear not. Like that's just how it goes.
Neoness says, at this point, I'd say vintage, even though it had a long life cycle, which he's not wrong. Let me pull this back up here. I pulled the chat down for him. Let me pull it back up. Come on, Nelly. Hang on. My thing's fighting me here. All right. Anyways, there we go. He says, all the remakes and remasters keep it fresh, so I'd say vintage in his... I would too. I would say, okay, that brings up a really good point.
Okay.
Do you think vintage says expensive, or retro kind of says cheap? Like if you're going to put them side by side, they both kind of mean similarly the same thing. But when you think of vintage, do you think kind of like high dollar? Do you think kind of, or even antique? Do you think like this is pristine, this is high dollar, this is the creme de la creme?
Antiques, like when you're talking about furniture, I think of expensive. Vintage, when you talk about t-shirts, I think of expensive.
Right. When you think of retro, you think like $15 tees that you can go to like.
I don't know if I think of that expensive when I hear retro.
That's why I'm kind of with Neo Ness on this. I think I would say the Neo Geo is vintage, and it had a long life cycle, and it's one of the only consoles that were made into an arcade, if you will. You know, you had the MVX, and then you had the Neo Geo actually as an arcade. Whether you want to get into AES versus MVS and all that other stuff, the point is still there. It was made into an arcade, right? So, yeah.
I love those too.
I love this conversation. Like I said, I want opinions here. We're not saying we're right. We're not saying we're wrong. We're having a discussion here. Because by golly, I think we're going to change the retro universe. All right, so here's a good one from Skake and Bacon Media. He says, watching my uncle play an Intellivision war game with the IntelliVoice, excuse me. I remembered it, yay. And it was like, it speaks. There's voices in the game. Young Marcus' mind was blown that day. Well, I have to agree with him on that, because I remember when I first got Rob, and I wanted Rob as a kid on the NES.
Okay, not...
No.
You said Rob, like Rob the robot.
Rob the robot.
I thought you were saying you got robbed.
No. Rob the robot. I wanted it as a kid, and my parents were just like, no, it's too much money, which I realize now, yeah, it was too much money.
back then. Yeah.
But I was like, oh, it's so cool. This robot Brandy can play video games with you, and this is all. So when I finally got it, okay, and I got it in my collection, and I showed it to my son. I got it all working. I fixed it up. It works just like the day. And I was playing Gyromite, and my kid was there, and he's watching it. He goes, "That's too much work." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "This is great." Yeah. He goes, "Dad, this is too much work to play a dang game. The robot's so stinking slow." I'm like, "You don't understand. This was ahead of its time to be able to sit there and play the game, and you're sitting there going back." He's just like, "No." And then the more I played it,
it doesn't keep up with the times. Like, we're from an era where, okay, I did have my cousin's Game Boy with the green, you know. Every street light in the car that I was playing from their house to my house in the car, because I had their Game Boy, it's like you had to look for the light to help you. And then when I got a Game Boy Pocket on my own, it's like I still had to use the lights. It's like nowadays kids are practically like born, they get a phone or tablet or whatever in their hand and they're fine.
I want to go back to, real quick, not changing the subject here, but I do want to go back to where is it? Not Neo Geo was boss. Right here from Bono's Tecmo. You, sir, got the comment of the night. Neo Geo is the holy grail to me, and I would agree with that. That is my holy grail console right now. Like, I really want a Neo Geo. I'm just very scared to pull like the plug or whatever you want to say. Drop the money on eBay to get one of those from Japan that has the chip. I'm afraid I'm going to get something that's like dead.
Yeah.
I really want somebody local that's a mom and pop collector shops to sell one, and I can get a complete in box. Like, I think Neo Nest did that. That's the only way I'm going to do it. Like, I just don't trust eBay with something like that. But that is my holy grail for now. I got the Neo Geo CD, but man,
well, you don't know. Maybe at a convention or something.
Yeah,
maybe
right now
like
that's untouchable.
A local buddy will have it at a convention. That way you get to see it in person. Go through that, because I'd be a little worried to buy some of that stuff.
Yeah, something like that. I can't justify buying it. Like, I'd rather pay a little bit extra and get it in person than to risk getting screwed on eBay. Like, I'm just not going to do that. But I would agree with that statement that it is the holy grail of console. Would we all agree? Let's give me a one in the chat room if we agree that the Neo Geo is the holy grail, meaning that the most sought after, whether you have one or don't have one, it seems to be the most sought after console of all time, because it was as expensive then as it is now. Like, if it's only gone up in price, it's not, you know what I mean? Like, it was out of reach when we were kids, Brandy.
It's still out of reach,
and
now.
It's still out of reach for most collectors.
It's like the Turbo too.
Unless you're Neo Ness, man. Neo Ness, he figured out how to collect for that, and I commend him. Everybody jokes, they're like, "Oh, you rich and stuff," but no, I mean, he figured out what he wanted to collect and stay with that,
and how it worked for him,
and stay within that path. He collected other games that he could trade to get some of the Neo Geo games. Hey. He's got the biggest collection of anybody that I know, unless you have. Do you have Neo Geo stuff?
I do, but I don't have what he has. I have.
Do you have AES or MVS?
AES. I have like 10 games or something.
So you do have the Neo Geo system.
Yeah, I have the Neo Geo system.
You've been holding out on me all this time. What do you got? Like 3 of them?
Just a couple.
See, I could have bought off of you. What the heck? You holding out on me?
Yeah, and you said you'd pay up for it, so I might have to sell one of mine to you, and I'll charge you a little bit more.
I will. I'll tell you, Metal Slug is what I really want, and I know they're going to be out of price range. Metal Slugs for those, but man.
Yeah, my local video game store has one, a copy of it.
How much?
I remember when they got it in the store.
How much they want for it there? I'm just curious. I'm not buying it.
They've raised the price, but they told me they'd let it go a lot cheaper, because I know what it came in for years ago, and they just want it sold.
So Lindsay says Ness is a very mature collector. You know, It's funny.
Now
It's funny, but when people look at a Neo Geo, it's looked upon as like, most people drive their cars, regular cars. They're like the Lamborghinis and the Porsches of the video game world. So like the Neo Geo, like Brandy. So Brandy and Ness, they're like, her and Elliot are like, they're driving around in they're not the BMWs. Like when you start getting the expensive games in our little thing, we're driving the BMWs. They got the Lamborghinis and the Porsches, and they're just flexing it and being like, "Yo, man."
I'm fine with just a van.
They're like, I see you over there. I see you
I
over
don't
there in
need
your
a
little
fancy
hoopty.
car.
I'm over
I
here,
just-
and you're just flexing.
I
Come on
just
now.
need a van that has a bunch of games in it. And I will get into those vans that say free games. But that's all I need. I don't need a Lambo or nothing.
So Tim's saying that you have one lying around in your bathroom. Is that true? The Neo Geo?
There may be one in the bathtub.
Man.
Everything is in the bathtub.
Jeez. Man, we need. I'm saying I need me one of those.
I'll
No,
keep it in my house.
you know what's sad? I got the Neo Geo Pocket Color when I was a teenager. I got it at KB Toys. I got that, Sonic, and Metal Slug
Mhm.
because I knew Metal Slug and I was a fan of it because I played at the bowling alley and whatnot.
Yeah.
In the Neo. I kid you not, I got that Neo Geo Color Pocket. I don't remember which revision it was, but it was the purple one. Randy, I got it for $5 at KB Toys because
Wow.
nobody wanted those things. Nobody wanted them.
If
and
only we knew.
I got the
Then what
games
we
for
know
a
now.
dollar each. $1 each. So under $10, I got Sonic. I had Duke Nukem, not Duke Nukem, Metal Slug, and I can't think of the other game I had for it. But I bought 3 games. It was under $10. I got them, and then I don't even know whatever happened to it. I had the box. I saved the box because I started getting older and kind of remembered like, if you keep the box, it might even be at my dad's house for all I know. I mean,
Isn't that crazy? Could you imagine?
man, like.
Mm.
But I wanted the Neo Geo as a kid. I wanted it, and I don't know. Ness maybe can help me out with this. But Ness, do you remember they came out with the arcade cabinet? Like you said, it was the first arcade at home, and then they made an arcade cabinet. But they had and I don't know if it was something the bowling alley made, but it wasn't an MVS cabinet like the red one that we all see all the time. But I distinctly remember it was like the black and tan / black and gray cabinet, and it said Neo Geo across the marquee at the top. And then the controllers were the battle sticks that you get, like the joysticks with the 5 buttons that were attached to a coil wire that you lifted off, and you could sit down on a stool and play it, not like a traditional arcade, or you could set it down on the arcade like you would play traditional stick and buttons. I have never seen one since then, Brandy. So I don't know if it was like a homemade cabinet that they made to give it that retro feel. Now we're talking 35,
Did it have
40
wood
years
grain?
ago. What was
Was
it?
it like wood grain?
It might have been. It might have been painted on the sides. I remember being black, saying Neo Geo. So it's hard to say, Brandy, but it had the controllers
I've
that
seen
came off. It had
The wood grain ones.
I've never seen those. Okay, so Neo Ness says the brownie cabinets. He's seen those before. I guess that's the wood grain one, right?
Yeah, I've seen those. Because like a couple have popped up for sale around me.
I know we're talking retro guys here, but this just kind of popped into my head here, and I was just kind of, what's going on? Mystically's X-Men House of Training is here, while Brandy's looking it up.
I don't know. Now I'm gonna do a deep dive, and I might find one.
Let's go. Did anyone else have the juvenile sales? Love the Toy Story. Oh, Toy Store, excuse me. Yep. Hey, what's going up? Toilet Clogger in the house. EB Games blister pack. You're not kidding, Daryl. That was EB Games was awesome.
Yeah.
They sold Nintendo cabs at Toys R Us that you put your NES in. Anyone remember it? No, I don't remember that. They sold actual Nintendo cabinets?
Yeah.
Like, are you talking like arcade cabinets, or are you talking like?
Yeah. one of these popped up too. It was at Sears, I think. I remember seeing
And Jason finally showed up. He decided to grace us with his presence.
because they had it too. Let me see.
And that says
Let's
you will
see if I
see
can
some
find it.
variations. Yeah, I'm sure there's some it could have been homemade. It might have been the wood grain one, and they painted it. So man, we're talking like 40 years ago, my brother. I couldn't tell you.
Geez, the Pro Play Home Arcade. You build it like that, and you
Oh,
put your NES in.
that's pretty cool. Can you still get those somewhere?
No, so once again, I should have bought it. There was a place like an hour or two away from me, and they only wanted a few $100s for it. And I should have just did it just to have one.
Yeah, you should have got it.
Could have put it in the bathtub.
You could have given it to me. I would have put it down here. What's going on, man? So if you guys are just joining us, let me just kind of wrap this up because Chasen just decided to join in here. So, he likes to make an entrance every now and again. We're talking about what is retro to you. And
what do you consider retro?
There's no right or wrong answer. And we've kind of established, and you'll have to go back in the beginning and watch this, but by definition, what we consider retro may be actually considered vintage. We also talked about, in the beginning, we talked about antique. There's a lot of different terms for it. So what do you consider retro? Is it a 20-year thing? Brandy, you and I kind of said it. There's no right or wrong answer, right? It is up to the individual. But
I mean, some people are wrong, but
well, yeah. I mean,
some are way wrong.
yeah, probably the particle boards didn't last. You know what we're going to do real quick? We're going to cut to, because we got about 15 minutes left in the show. What we're going to do is we're going to cut to our good folks. We have 3 people that actually they wrote in, or not wrote in, but they sent a video in, and we want to encourage you guys for the next week, depending on what we want to talk about it. You guys start thinking about what you want us to talk about next week. We're going to let you hear their opinions. We're going to start out with OWAS, and then we're going to go into David B. And then, of course, we've got our good friend Steve Lucas. You know him from the Crimey-cade. So let's see what they have to say, what they think retro is.
Hello, I'm Chris Sebastian from Play It Games, Movies, and Music, serving Central Ohio with 3 locations. You are watching Game Master.
What are your thoughts?
That's a great question.
Well,
That's a great question. Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you.
Welcome in, Game Masters. Awesome here. Answer the question, what is retro for video games? Actually, more for consoles. And for me, Gen 1 and Gen 2 aren't even retro. They're either vintage or classic. And then when you get to Gen 3, like the Master System and the NES, then you have your retro. That's when it starts. And for me, there's a stopping point for retro. That point is Gen 7. Gen 7 is not retro. So the Xbox 360, the PS3, and even the Wii, they are not retro systems. And for me, they will never be retro systems. You can call them modern, you can call them modern retro, but they are never going to be in the same category to me, or for me, as Master System, Genesis, the Saturn, the Dreamcast. Because in Gen 7, there was something that that was quite new for everything. You had HDMI connections. You had wireless and Ethernet connections. Not that other consoles didn't have it before, but it was standard for every console that generation. You had hard drives. You got rid of memory cards. The controllers all had, dual analog sticks. You had dual analog sticks. But that was a turning point for gaming. You have all this stuff, and then Gen 7 comes, everything on its head. because you've got all these different things and things you couldn't do before because you got DLC and all that stuff. So for me, there's a stopping point. Like I said, the 360, the PS3 never will be retro. Like I said, modern retro, call it modern, whatever you want to call it. But to me, it does not make sense to group those together. Just like it doesn't make sense to me for the first 2 generations of console gaming to be lumped into retro. The classic or vintage. And then the Master System is something else entirely. I mean, that's when retro starts, is with the Master System, because that's what I really like. But to me, there has to be a stopping point, because just because something old doesn't mean it needs to be in the same category as what came before. Because there's a huge difference between the 8-bit systems and the 7th gen systems, with the CDs and eventually being able to install your games onto the hard drive and being able to download games. It's just, there's got to be a breaking point. And to me, that's it. Nothing crazy, but keep it retro or 360.
Game Masters, this is David B69. Yeah, I'm basically chilling out, and I mean chilling because it's cold outside. But you're asking the question of what I find to be retro, or modern. I say anything modern has an HDMI plugging into the old boob tube. And I'm aging myself calling it a boob tube. But anyways, yeah, anything HDMI, basically 360, PS3, on up. I would even say that is modern because it uses those, you can use, the component cables. That also makes it modern-ish. So I will basically draw the line right in that era. So basically, I don't know, 2005, 2006 on up, is around about-ish of when the systems were out. I mean, I think GameCube's fine. I think PS2 is fine. They're retro enough. But to me, they're bordering right on the thing. Some people will say it's disc. Anything disc is basically, that's modern still. I won't go that far as like right now. I'm basically on the fence, and I say anything that has an RCA plugs for the TV, and that's what you need to play with, I think that is inherently retro. So, until next time, this is David B69. I gotta go play some Terraria. Peace!
Well, after my way over the top ranting and raving last week, I figured I should tone it down for this topic. What the heck is retro? I thought this was an easy answer. Anything that's 20 to 25 years old or older is retro. Pretty much anything from the 20th century should be considered retro. Ataris, the Astrocade, the Odyssey, the Intellivision, the ColecoVision, the Vectrex, the Sega, Master System, Genesis, the Super NES, the TurboGrafx, Nintendo 64, the Game Boy, the Game Gear, Turbo Express, all 20th century game consoles. And then we enter the cusp of the 2000s. Dreamcast, it's almost there as retro. Maybe it's there now. PS2, very close to retro now. The GameCube, very close to retro. The Wii, very close to retro. And 360. But why is it considered retro? Any reproductions, like the newest version of the Atari 2600 Plus, the NES Classic, the Super NES Classic, where it's produced with newer technology, smaller packaging, more compact. And most of the software, the old software, you're not going to get it in physical media. It's all going to be digital downloads. So, yes, the new stuff is going to be big, large, and expensive. The older stuff, smaller, more compact, possibly easier to produce. So that's my explanation of what retro is. Anything that's 20 to 25 years old or older. And you can join me on my Crummy Cave podcast tomorrow. I'll be hosting Craig Bass, 8 p.m. Thursday, to talk about Ghost Lord and the Quest for Dark Presence, the documentary. See you then.
Okay.
That's a good one. So, I have some beef with y'all.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. Let's acknowledge Daryl here real quick, because I know you're chomping at the bit, but I'm gonna make you fired up even more. Daryl, we're gonna talk about that. The next week's topic is YouTubers. Do you stop listening to YouTubers who get out of your hobbies? That's a great conversation to have, and that's not meaning malicious, because we could talk about some of the things that we learned with even some other people that are donating some of their stuff, and we could talk about that. But anyways,
totally could.
I love Stephen Lucas, man. I love his energy that he brings to the show. I just want to say that. Crimey Kate, if you haven't checked him out, you got to go check him out. Listen to his rants. He's hilarious. And I love Brandy at the beginning. He started out, we're like, I got to tone this down. I think I scared everybody last week.
Sure did. Yeah.
But I think Owaz, out of all three of them, you seem to disagree. So I'm going to let you rant. But I really liked what Owaz said.
I'm disagreeing because y'all are going back and forth in the chat here. Okay, this is where I disagree. Saying that Sega CD and PS1 are modern. Okay, listen to these arguments. You really think Lara Croft, Tomb Raider, you think that's modern on the PS1? And what about its counterpart is the Nintendo 64? They're making the same games on the PS1 and N64. One's on a cartridge and one's on a CD. How do you argue that the same game is modern and then one system is retro? How do you argue that when they're the same counterparts?
Okay, now I can't bring up a comment here on Facebook. My brother's over on Facebook, and I happened to pull it open because I can't pull it up yet. It's still broken on the thing. He said, to me, vintage, this is what he says, to me, vintage is Nintendo, Atari, Super Nintendo. Now, he's talking about Nintendo as an NES. So let me, okay, he's not a collector. He's, we grew up with it. Nintendo or NES, Atari, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis. I kind of agree with him on that. He also says arcade one-ups would be considered retro. Even though they're a modern 3/4 scale home arcade cabinet, they play retro games. Like, I guess he's saying like retro games as in like Mortal Kombat 1 would be considered a retro game. When I think of vintage, I think like Lunar Lander or Asteroids, any kind of vector games. Wouldn't you consider your Vectrex like a vintage system? You wouldn't consider that retro. I consider that vintage. No, yes, maybe.
Sorry, I'm laughing at the chat. They said, tell that Brandy, go.
So the Dreamcast was ahead of their time.
They're saying no to the arcade one-up.
They don't consider arcade one-up retro. Well, they play retro games. They gotta be retro.
I think they're like a modern style because when you look at their counterparts of arcade games, like the original OG arcades, the big bulky, I consider that retro, but I don't consider arcade one-ups retro because they're like a modern spin on. Retro.
I'm talking about the games that are on it. Forget that they're emulated. Forget that the games that are on most arcade one-ups are retro games. They're not the vintage games. Vintage games, they do have a few of them. like the
Yeah, I mean, I guess
vector
the
games.
games can be because there's like Frogger and all these.
Yeah, I'm
other-
not talking about the cabinet. Forget the cabinets, guys,
Yeah.
in the chat room. Forget the cabinets. We're not talking the cabinet design and the MDF. Obviously, that is modern stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not stupid. I'm talking about the games like Big Buck Hunter. That's not a retro game, in my opinion. That's well, I guess it is, but it's not a modern game, but it's not a vintage game like they did have a few of them. Centipede, they had Asteroids, Lunar Lander, Crystal Castles, all the vector games, right? Wouldn't you consider vector games vintage?
Yeah, because I did have like an Asteroids and like a Centipede with like the little trackball. I did have that arcade one up, and that one kind of did feel on the retro-y style.
So CC Games says, well, by that logic, he goes, there are retro games on modern systems. You are correct, sir. Switch has a lot of retro games on that system. PS5 has a lot of retro games on it. They're all
See, now we're
throwbacks.
teetering this whole line of back to what we started. There's
Listen,
like
I'm just
retro
saying.
inspired.
Listen, I'm saying this is all a matter of opinion.
I feel
That's
like
what we're
we didn't
getting
get
at.
anything accomplished. We just circled right back.
There's no like what you consider retro, what CC Games consider retro. David 69, David B 69. He says just because they play retro games that are re-released, the original is retro. Re-release is not retro. No, that's where the vintage and that's where the original is vintage. Retro is the remake. Remember, we read that description, right? That's the actual meaning behind it.
Here we go.
Classic.
I think they need to break up these and have, because now gaming is getting so old and there is so much that has evolved since the beginning of time to
Wait
now.
a second.
And
Wait
now
a
we're
second.
in a digital age.
Wait.
I think they need to remap this whole retro thing. I think we need to have
That's what I was just gonna say. Wait a second. X-Men just threw a monkey wrench in our whole thing.
Oh, classics. They're
He said, "Would you clear?" He's like, "I would consider them classics." So, okay, let's go back to the arcade one-ups. All the games that are on there, would you consider them classics because they're fan favorites like Mortal Kombat, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Miss Pac-Man, They're all classics, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What would you, so not every game on Nintendo, Sega, Super Nintendo, they're not all classics because they're not all fan favorites, right? Well, could we agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you consider them retro? Or what would you consider? Timeless adventures. All right.
I mean, they have to be retro. If we're only going off of those, I think we need more brackets and more.
I guess before we wrap this up, guys, put in the chat room, what do you want to call it? Because there's no right or wrong answer. I just want to see what the consensus is of all the people that are here. What the majority of you say. If the majority of you say retro, then that's what we're gonna, that's what we'll go with. Again, everybody's a game master here. We want to make sure that's what we're talking about. What do you guys? Would you say classics? Would you say vintage? Would you say antique? Let us know in the chat room so we can finish this show out.
We don't even know.
Well, I'm curious. I like these guys have had a lot of good input the whole show. Like I'm not saying we're not all gonna agree. Tech Buzz. I did use Chat GPT earlier because I wanted the definition, Jason.
Yeah, we got the actual definition.
We actually did. We used we used Chat GPT. If you go back to the beginning of the show, I actually did that. X-Men House of Trading says if consider Pac-Man and Galaga, he considers them classics. I would agree with that. I consider them classics. Is that the Germs 574 re-releases? Okay, fair enough. Trying to settle this once and for all, Toilet Clogger says.
Now, I think a lot of people, it's like right off at that cutoff. Like, do they think it's 20 years, 25 years, or do they separated between disc and HDMI and like that stuff modern. I think that's where like where does retro turn into modern? I think we got it
But
from
by
the
that
very
logic,
far back.
But by that logic, Brandy, if we considered anything on a disc modern,
Yeah, I just don't think that works.
so, no, I agree, because think back when the cassette was out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when modern bands came out, cassette was technically retro. It was old because the CDs started coming out, right? Would you consider a band that's brand new that came out in the 90s, if they released something on a cassette, would you then call them a
Exactly, 'cause
classic?
that logic doesn't work.
That's what I'm saying
And
here.
also,
The games,
we
yes,
moved past the CD. We went to like Blu-rays and stuff. So
right.
wouldn't that kind of eliminate and take the next step? So maybe there needs to be like a little bit more of like the retro into the modern. There has to be like a transition period or something.
So according to
where you're
Chasen,
inbreeding.
Webster's dictionary, antique is 100 years old. That's what they're considering 100 years old. I don't know. Classic cars, is it 25 years? I thought it was 20 years, but he might be right. I don't follow cars. So if we go by the term of 25 years, would we also go by the term 25 years for video games? If that's what's considered classic or retro. What's a cassette?
See,
thing
and I
right
don't
now?
think we can hold it to the same standards as
I
cars and
know.
stuff because this is new compared to those standards. Like, and also like if you are doing the life cycles, like it's when the library closes and the store closes online for those consoles, and here we're ending like the PS4.
See, I
all
agree with the germ here. CD, HDMI, digital, all modern to me. He's 100% right. When we went from analog video, even in the video world, okay, so me as a video producer here using
but how
video.
is CD modern when they don't even have CD players in any cars that you
well,
buy now?
it's not now, but he's talking about at that time. That's what he's talking about. At that time, CD, HDMI, that was all modern at the time. So think of it like
video
this.
games were modern at one point.
You can still buy CDs in the store. You can still go to Walmart right now and buy CDs. Maybe not every Walmart, but hear me out here. Analog video up until about 15 years ago was popular. And then when HDMI came out and video became digital over HDMI and SDI, and I know it means nothing to you guys in the video game world, that was modern technology in the video world. That was considered high-end modern. So I understand, I'm not agreeing with these guys, but I understand where they're saying like HDMI is modern. When you look at your TV, what does it have? HDMI to connect your VCR, your Blu-ray, your video game consoles. Okay. DisplayLink and Ethernet are slowly replacing HDMI. Does everybody know what DisplayLink is? Have you seen that? It looks like an HDMI except it goes flat across the bottom. It still has that cut on the top. It's more secure. It locks in. A lot of your modern computers have that now on the graphics card. That is slowly replacing HDMI, and HDMI is slowly becoming a thing of the past. So, what did everybody do, Brandy, to modernize their Jaguars, their N64s, and all these other consoles, their Wii? They got them modded with HDMI.
Yeah.
So I understand where he's coming from. I'm not saying I agree, but I understand where he's coming from. Okay.
I mean, I understand that point more than CDs. Like, I understand the HDMI stuff more than CDs. So, like, at least I kind of understand that a lot more.
So,
because I don't agree with the CD because of the N64
Fair
versus
enough.
the PS1, the same.
Because you remember the NES came out with a CD game, but they didn't release it. It was the Sony, what was it, the Sony NES, where it was the Nintendo PlayStation that they were going to have. It was around the NES time, and that was CD, and that was still considered retro. Okay, so I would call both Atari, Nintendo, and Sega all vintage consoles, and Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx, Neo Geo consoles retro. Do you agree, Steve and Brandy?
I think there has to be more things broken up.
I agree.
I think we're gonna get to a point where, like think of like your kids and their kids. Like they can't call everything retro. You can't call, because then people are going to be like, oh, Atari compared to N64. Like, those are like, they're
Define
like different
Atari.
ballgames.
Well, because remember, I just bought that 7800, right?
Yeah.
And it's called the classic Atari 7800 Plus.
Yeah.
So they're considering it. They didn't call it retro. They called it classic, the remake of it. They also, remember with the NES that came out, the small one that had all the games packed into it, the real small NES, Super NES, and Sega Genesis, what did they call it when they released it? And you guys can look it up. They called it the classic NES, the classic Super Nintendo. They called it the classic Genesis. They didn't call it the retro.
True.
So maybe there's something to that. I'm not saying that's what we call it. I'm just saying by definition, right? That's what people have said.
Dang, that's sad. In the future, people will call games that are physical retro and digital modern. There you go.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Anything on physical media, it doesn't matter if it's a CD, a floppy disk, a cartridge, they're going to call it retro and they're going to call it digital modern. He's 1,000% right.
Yeah.
We're still just in that in-between stage right now with our little group of collectors and people that, just trying to understand. It doesn't make a world of difference. I just thought it would be a fun discussion to have, which it turned out to be a really fun discussion to hear a lot of people's thoughts and opinions on it.
Yeah, I think it's good to talk about this stuff though, because it really does bring things into a new point. And with the times and things that are shifting and changing, like, I think it's good that maybe in the future we're going to have to narrow this down, because gaming is still, like, I get it's been around for whatever, but it's still new in a sense of these other spaces. Like,
exactly.
It's still kind of like, there's still a generation out there that really hasn't touched video games, like the old farts. Like, they might still really not know what video games and stuff are. Like, my parents, per se. Like, they don't really know it. They don't understand it, as they're getting up there in age. And then it's us, and we're all, it used to be frowned upon, and it used to not be the cool thing, and now we're all cool. So I guess things and times are changing, so maybe different definitions and descriptions have to be done. I'm not really too sure, but in 10 years we could have the same debate, and it'd be completely different than what we said tonight.
Let me ask
20 years
everyone.
the same.
And I don't know how this happened, but we are on. I changed all of them, but this one. The date is wrong on this, so I apologize, everyone. I'm changing it right now. This is episode 33. So if anybody was wondering why it looks like, nobody noticed it, and I just happened to notice it when I looked at it. Just so anybody was wondering, you're not watching last week's episode. This is episode 33. My question is, any PC gamers in the chat room, do you guys have this debate before we wrap this up? Do you have this debate? Do you have any games that you consider, do you even talk about this? Do you even say, like, hey, this PC game is retro. Duke Nukem 3D is retro. Doom 64 is retro.
Uh-huh.
Is this something is this just in the console space? Or is this in the video game space across the board? I'm not a PC gamer. I'm just a casual PC gamer.
Because I wonder if they think physical versus digital, because, like, I have this older vintage PC over here that I still need help with. I have to install Windows 98. It's the Hot Wheels PC. It's all decked out with all the Hot Wheels, keyboard, monitor, like everything. I would consider that retro or vintage, because it's like, it's from the 90s.
I would consider it vintage. It's a computer vintage,
I guess. It takes physical discs, but I would not consider it modern. I would consider this right here modern. True.
So PC hasn't had physical in some time, so it's probably
That's
not
what
a
I'm
discussion.
saying. So they already moved past what we've been arguing about for so long, and what we're holding on to.
So I would say anybody that has games, because, I mean, think about it. When was the last time your computer had a CD or DVD drive in it? Apple got rid of it out of Apple got rid of theirs almost 10 years ago out of their computers because I'm an Apple guy mainly, and my PCs almost 10 years ago too. They got rid of it. The last ones I had were like CD burners with the burning capabilities. Instead of putting a label on it, you could just light scribe them, the tops of them. And I have one of them in my Mac Pro. And I keep that computer. It's a 2009 Mac Pro. That thing still runs really good. It's a beast machine. It just can't run the latest operating system. But I use it for light scribe CDs and DVDs if I want to make backups and stuff. But that is a very good point. I think it's just in the console space. So, yeah. I thought this was a fun episode. It was just something to chit-chat about. Again, there's no right or wrong answers. We're not going to go. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, leave us a comment. Let us know your opinion. Either on Brandy's channel or my channel. Let us know. What is vintage to you? What is classic to you? What is retro to you? Let us know. There's no right or wrong answers. We always love having these discussions. That's why I feel like, Brandy, our podcast is different from any of the other gaming podcasts out there because we talk about some of the stuff that, well, frankly, nobody likes to talk about, right?
Yep, people don't like to
ruffle feathers.
Yeah, pretty much. My feathers are ruffled.
So next week, thanks to Daryl, we've got the topic for next week. Do you still follow YouTubers? Or do you still listen to YouTubers who get out of the space or stop collecting if you're in the video game space or any space for that matter? Or do you unsubscribe?
Yeah, because there are quite a few now that I think about it. We all seen them where they go, I sold my entire collection, or this, that, the third, or they just don't seem, I don't know, maybe I'm getting too far ahead. Maybe they don't seem as passionate in what they once started as. Maybe we even do that where they shift gears, they go over into toy collecting. There's a lot of people now that come to mind. Okay, I got this.
Yeah, and to be fair, we're not picking on anyone here. We are not calling anybody out. We're not that type of channel. We're not going to do that.
We're not going to name the names.
We're not drama channels, but we are curious. Why not just start another channel? Like, I'll just use myself as an example. I have a video game collection channel. Brandy and I have talked about it. I've also been making some big strides in the outdoor space. But I'm not going to mix the two channels together. I'm not going to, quit one and just start putting outdoor stuff on this channel. That would be dumb. I'd kill my channel.
You should though. I sold my game collection and now I'm living outdoors.
No, I'm not going to do that. I think it's okay to have two hobbies, but just separate it here on YouTube. And I think people will respect. They can subscribe to whatever side they want. Anyways, that'll be for next week. If you guys like this episode, give us a thumbs up, like, comment, and don't be afraid to share this with your friends and family or whoever else that may be, or other groups on YouTube or whatever else is out there on Facebook, and let us know what you guys think. Brandy, what do you got going on this week?
Who knows? It's like, I don't know. I'm trying my best over here. Some days if you haven't noticed, I do have a little cold, like a little sinusy cold. So just trying to trying to just get through the week. But no, I do have some fun things planned. I am trying to start a new series, but of course I don't want to sound this terrible and be all this red and sick or whatever when I start this new series that I've been trying to start for a minute. But yeah, some fun things planned, so make sure you guys check out over in the channel. I don't even know what I just said, but check out the channel. You can find me, a gamer Ahmer, across all the socials. Appreciate y'all.
And I've actually been doing some shorts. I've been putting some pictures up, not as consistent as I probably should be. And but I have had a lot of other things with work, and believe it or not, I've had work messages even during the show just popping up, and just trying to get back to them while I still can. But we've had an extremely busy week with the snow, not making excuses for it, but Brandy will tell you, we had a busy weekend with the snow. Like, we had to go out every 3 hours and plow and everything like that. But we do appreciate this, and I want to make a call to this really quick with everybody still in here. Thank you guys. I'm almost to 12,000 subscribers. Brandy hit finally 20,000 subscribers. So it's all because of you guys out there who have been supporting us. Whether you like me or you don't like me and you love Brandy, that's okay. I'm here to make her look good. That's fine. By pushing buttons and doing this. But no, seriously though, we really appreciate you guys' support. You guys are the reason we keep doing this, because let me tell you, there's weeks I really don't feel like doing a podcast. Brandy will tell you. I just don't feel like doing it. But you guys sending in videos like this get me fired up and amped up like, okay, this is why we're doing this. We're not doing it for sponsors. We're not doing it for advertisers. We're doing it because you guys have really gotten behind this podcast. You believe in us. You've really been pushing us to the limits. And we appreciate that. We please send us the videos. We can't stress that enough, especially with the next topic. Get them into Brandy, get them into me, because we want to hear your opinions on it. Don't name names. Now you're free to name names, but please be tactful about it, because again, you don't want to paint a bullseye on yourself, and you don't want to look like a drama channel. Again,
so you could like generalize, or if you do call someone out, be respectful of them as a person. Only talk about, their actions and how it made you feel. Don't bash the person by their looks and appearances and things like that. We don't want to hear all that. If they can't change it, don't send that. But if you're going after like someone's like their action and this is, what it did, then that's fine. But just be respectful.
So if you guys I see Manny's Arcade, where do you send the videos? So you can send them to steve@thetechbuzz.net if you have a Dropbox account, if you have a Google Drive account. If you don't, hit up one of us on Facebook, which is a lot of what people do, and you can send the video right through Facebook.
There.
Yes.
People send them to like my email. Some people have my personal email. If you just ask, I'll give you my email to send it or whatever. I'm not going to say it live on the air. But no, you could also just send it through, like, if you have my number, like text messaging, or through Instagram messages. I had some come through, some through like Facebook Messenger. Just it really doesn't matter. We can change the style if we need to. Like if you do vertical, we prefer to be the horizontal, like the YouTube long form style videos, as opposed to the short. But if you send it that way, we can always like try to convert it. And if we have to flip them and do whatever, we could do all that too. So.
Yep. So again, guys, we appreciate it, and we text it to you. We don't give out our cell phone numbers, but
no, he has my number. He could text.
Oh, if he has your phone number, yeah, he can do it. You can text it to Brandy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not everyone has my number, but if I meet you in person at a convention, I will probably just give away my number.
There you go. All right, guys.
I know him. He's a
if you know him,
a good guy. I know him.
Guys, we will see you next week. Have a great weekend. A rest of the week and a weekend. We'll talk to you guys later. Oh, that was a good show. That was a long show. What are you doing here? The show's over. What are you doing? Go away. What are you doing? Do you see this? Look.
What are you doing in there?
Why are you here? The show is over. Go home.
Go away.
Get lost.
Oh my gosh. Just in our house?
Yeah, go away.
Wonder how much more I can actually fit into this shower here. I feel like I have plenty of room to go ahead and put more stuff. Wait, why are you guys here? You guys aren't supposed to see this. I'm not doing anything in here. This isn't storage. You guys need to get out of here. Go home. Go. Get out of here. Stop watching. You don't need to see anything in here.